Lowe's Business Credit Account, 5% all purchases in-store or online. Subject to credit approval, U.S. only. Lowe's. I know what you're saying, Colin. You're always just so brutal on Westbrook. No, I'm brutally honest. Dynamic can be hard to play with, brutal late in games, and the playoffs are all about how good are you late in games. Kareem was great. Magic was great. Bird was great. MJ was great. LeBron is great. Steph is great. Durant was great. Got to be great late in games in the playoffs. These are not 30-point games. So the new trophy, MVP last year, the new one, let's just be honest about this, a little painful and hurtful today, is the MV trophy. And it's Westbrook's. It is all Westbrook's. MVP, best rebounder in the game, arguably, all-star in Paul George, significantly gifted offensive player Carmelo, as of this morning, won't get a first-round playoff series. Okay, a lot of trade rumors out there in the NFL. Some I buy and some I don't. Odell Beckham, for instance, is really expensive. He wants to renegotiate a contract. I don't think there's a lot of takers for Odell Beckham Jr. because nobody wants to get saddled paying a wide receiver $20 million a year. I mean, Julio Jones is the best receiver, probably most dependable guy in the NFL. And after about $13, $14 million, I'm not sure how much you can pay a wide receiver. And I like him a lot, but his production is not tied to wins. Atlanta's not better when he plays well. That's my knock on Odell Beckham Jr. But let me tell you a guy where it makes a lot of sense. Rob Gronkowski, according to the Boston Journal's Greg Bedard, a legitimate guy, not some crazy blogger, has a Bill Belichick-friendly source who said the Patriots head coach would be receptive to trading Gronk. The Niners and the Rams would be possible destinations. Of course the Rams are interested. The Rams have now emerged as the favorite to land LeBron James. I had LeBron coming to L.A. I just had the wrong team, apparently. The Rams are a very interesting fit. They wanted Marcus Peters. Best corner in the game, they got him. They wanted Aqib Talib, top 5 corner, got him. Wanted Ndamukong Suh, got him. Odell Beckham, Gronk interested. I think they can get him because it would take not multiple picks. If you gave Belichick the Rams' 23rd pick in the first round, New England would take it, and the Rams can't get a starter there anyway. So Gronk's a guaranteed starter. Now the question is, how long is Gronk going to play? My guess is in L.A., if he's happier, he'll play 2 years. He's got a 2-year deal. It's about a $7-8 million cap hit. It's all incentive-based, or a large part of it's incentive-based, which tells you New England kind of tired of his crap. New England got tired of the injuries. I think if you're New England, you have squeezed every ounce of water out of the Gronk sponge. In the last 6 years, he has played 11 games, 7 games, 15, 8, and 14. He's missed 6 playoff games and a Super Bowl. It is a workable contract. The Rams have the piece to get it. And I don't think within the Patriot system, I don't think he's a game changer. I think within the Rams system, for a year, there's nobody you could draft that could start on this current Rams team. So I think it makes sense. San Francisco, for the record, since they took the Patriots to the cleaners on the Garoppolo deal, maybe they'd cut a more Patriot-friendly deal, doubt it, with Gronk. But I think that Niners and the Rams are being mentioned. The Rams makes a lot of sense to me. Actually, the Niners makes a ton of sense to me. They really don't have a go-to guy at that spot. Rams have talented young tight ends. They don't have a go-to tight end. The Niners drafted a kid out of Iowa last year. He's not a go-to tight end. He's an NFL tight end. All makes sense to me. Christine with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Is it possible that Russell Westbrook just had a bad game?
He didn't have a bad game.
Well, bad end of game.
No, that's not.
I mean, granted, it's happened twice recently, but, people go through slumps. Don't you have like a week or so here and there where you maybe you're at the top of your game?
Well, if twice in a week you were rude to a waiter,
that's different. That's inexcusable.
Well, inexcusables an MVP shooting an air ball when Paul George is red hot. To your right.
No, because if you have that killer instinct, you have to feel like you could take that shot at any time.
But you have to be smart enough to know I'm the worst guy in the league at that shot. I'm going to pass.
Maybe this year. But he also won MVP for things like that, right?
If you want to be wrong on this topic, I'm opening the door for it. But I mean, like, the numbers are all like, he's terrible, late in games, and shooting threes.
But for a guy who doesn't always like numbers, when you say there's more than just numbers, I would argue that you can't tell a guy to start thinking about whether or not he's going to take an end-of-game shot. That's not the way that an MVP or Russell Westbrook doesn't play that way.
I tell all my athletes to think about everything because I think the best athletes, Magic Johnson, Bird, are the really smart athletes. I never think ignorance is good for anybody. I would never tell you, Christine, in big moments on the show, just don't think. We both think all the time on everything we do because that's what makes us hopefully better than other people who don't think about every little detail.
Well, he was asked whether he would like a chance to do it again.
Oh, he did? He was asked that?
Russ, just going to ask you, the shots down the stretch in the fourth quarter, the 2-3 specifically, are those shots that you look back on and you dwell on them and think, wish I wouldn't have come, or is it just on to the next one?
What'd you think?
I don't know. It doesn't matter what I think.
Yeah, you know me.
His eyelash blinking.
He's kind of moving into
he's
kind of moving into head case territory a little.
No, he's just
Odd.
I think that he just does it, like mainstream media isn't appealing to him, and I think he's really just his own person.
All right.
I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's just
No.
funny.
Nobody's saying he's bad.
Yeah.
But he's moved into the odd territory.
Well, he is. But aren't we all? Like, I'm odd. I think.
I don't think Michael Jordan after games, Barkley after games.
Michael Jordan's odd in his own ways.
Now he's passionate, but again, you can take this side. My side's eventually going to be proven right in the playoffs. Their OKC is going to be one and done.
That's not entirely his fault, and that's where we differ in that opinion. I don't think that it's Russell Westbrook's fault that they're not going to be as good as they should have been. Tyronn Lue is going to rejoin the Cavs tonight when they play the Pelicans, but as an observer, not as their head coach or even coach in general. He is going to try to ease his way back into the role over the next couple of weeks. He's been using a chef to improve his diet, and he's been on an exercise plan. I wish we had all the information here, because him coming back as an observer is interesting to me. Like, remember when Steve Kerr came back? I think he would do like a halftime meeting with the team.
Right.
He wouldn't go out on the bench and head coach quite yet. But for Ty Lue to come back and sit on the bench but not coach and just be an observer, it just seems weird.
Well, if you want to get healthy in the NBA, then don't travel and eat at home.
I agree.
I mean, for Tyronn Lue, I think, and Steve Kerr, stay home for 3 weeks.
Right. That's why this is odd to me. Because if he was, and I'm not questioning whether or not he's healthy, because it clearly seems like he needed to take some time off. But why come back and just observe? You can observe from home. I don't know. Finally, the Patriots got rid of Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo, so now they have a shortage at quarterback.
Yeah.
So here's Robert Kraft on the possibility of drafting one.
I'm going to put my fan hat on, and, obviously, at some point we have to, because not just that, but you think about it. Think what happened in the 08 season when in the first quarter against Kansas City, Tom goes out. And how many people would have said that Matt Castle would have led us to an 11-5 season? So once again, I put my faith and confidence in Bill, and he knows his responsibilities, and anything can happen, even if Tom comes in tip-top shape.
By the way, if I'm Belichick, I'm thinking, we had a guy, and I really liked him, and you told me I had to get rid of him.
Right.
And so I gave him away, and then watched him at the end of the year go 5-0 and be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Belichick is sitting there in an office hearing that and going,
Thanks.
yeah, thanks. I had a guy for the next 12 years, and you told me to get rid of him.
Yeah, so who do they draft now?
Well, they're not in a spot. I think they'll actually.
Or what do they do?
I think they're going to draft that kid from Toledo. And I think they'll draft him because it's Belichick. He'll be allowed to draft him like third, fourth round, where he's seen as like a sixth-round guy or an undrafted guy. That Tyler, whatever his name is, from Toledo. Watch them draft him somewhere earlier than expected and sit on him. Yeah, Logan Woodside. Yeah, they'll go out and get him in the 4th round because they can, because they're the Patriots and people won't doubt him, and they'll sit on him for 2 years, and that's the kind of guy that Belichick likes to get.
Yeah, it is.
Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line
Played
News.
in the NFL, Giants, Falcons, Broncos. He's now a college football analyst and a Sirius XM host. And my friend Danny Cannell. I love getting Danny on the show. You know, you're one of those guys that I don't even think you're even remote offensive, but you get so much hate all the time. It's amazing. I'm so jealous.
I do on Twitter, for sure. I'm sort of a different personality on Twitter, though. I think that's where it comes from.
What are you on Twitter?
I'm a troll, probably at its best, or worse, whatever way you want to look at it. But I like the back and forth. I like to talk smack on Twitter. I think it's fun. I think as long as you keep in perspective, like, look, there are bigger problems in the world than people getting upset over who you think's going first in the draft.
Right.
Come on.
Okay, let's go to your mock draft. Danny Cannell apparently has a functioning brain because these ridiculous mock drafts who have like running backs and, cornerbacks, like, folks, it's a rich quarterback draft and a bunch of teams need a quarterback. Quarterbacks are going all over this top 5 or 6. Danny Cannell has them going 1, 2, 3, and 5.
It doesn't mean I agree with them, but I think this is what's going to happen. And I'll tell you why, because I have a theory. I think you'll like this theory. All these quarterbacks we've got this year, these top 5 guys, they all have red flags. They all have issues. Different. They have blemishes. All of them.
Let's talk about one blemish for each as you go down.
Okay. So, but let me get to my theory. I think you'll like this. I think it's going to come down to likability. I really do. I think it's in the interview process when you get to sit down with these guys. It's who do you like the most? Because I think they're all. So Sam Darnold, been inconsistent, struggle with turnovers, right, at USC. But he's affable. He's the hardworking kid from Southern Cal who just likes to surf. He's laid back.
Tough.
He's tough, and there's been some upside.
Yeah.
So I think he's the most likable, the guy you'd want to go out and get a beer with. And I think it's the easiest, safest pick for a GM or scout in a business where guys are risk averse. They do not want to go out and take a risk with that number 1 pick.
Right.
Because if you're the Browns, you can go out and tell your fan base, this is a guy, played at USC. He's been a buzz about college football for the past few years. He's likable. You can put him up on your podium. Everybody's going to love him, right? So I think that's why he's going to go number 1. Josh Allen, I think, is going to go 2, second most likable, right? Nice guy, comes from a good family home, humble. He's said all the right things through the process. He's got all the physical skills. My thing is he has struggled with accuracy.
Oh, God, yes.
And that, to me, is a concern.
Huge.
Because I've heard a lot of people say, well, he's playing at Wyoming. He doesn't have that much talent around him. What do you think he's going to get if he goes to the Bills or the Jets? You think he's going to have talent around him if he goes to the Jets? It's going to be a disaster. And I always think it's funny because, does everybody realize it gets harder to complete passes in the NFL? Like, do we forget that sometimes?
I know.
If you struggle to get 60% in college, it is going to get much worse at the next level. So I think accuracy is something that's just a gift. I think you can improve it somewhat, but I think it's something you have or you don't.
Okay, so the mock draft, you have Baker Mayfield 3rd over Rosen, and your theory about likability, explain.
So I think if you talk to both of these guys, I think Baker Mayfield is more likable. And I think it comes down to that, like, you like the chip on the shoulder, you like the confidence, you like what he's brought to Oklahoma, but I think he is more likable. With Josh Rosen, he has an edge, and I don't know if we're allowed to use certain words on the radio, but I won't use it. But and jerk is not the accurate word, but Rosen reminds me more of a Jay Cutler, Jeff George type of player. And now with all these players, I think it's interesting because if I told you could have a player and he could give you a career of Jay Cutler, would you select him as your franchise quarterback? And I'm referring to Josh Rosen. Would you take him? I think most people would, because it's worth the risk, and maybe you get lucky and he can make all the throws. Now, is he an inspirational leader, a guy that's going to be the perfect face of your franchise? I don't know, but I think you see the raw talent and what he brings to the table, and I think that's why he's going to get selected.
But you think of the 4, he is the 4th most likable.
I do. I don't think you'd get a lot of argument on that either. I think some people might push back on Baker Mayfield. But I am a believer. I'm a buyer in Baker Mayfield.
Police
I know
video.
You don't. So
Grab
you
his
don't.
junk.
I know grabbing his junk. There have been way bigger issues that we've seen throughout the course of history with quarterbacks than grabbing your junk on the sideline.
Did you grab junk?
I did not. I was a choir boy. I was an angel, right? So I didn't do those things, which maybe I should have grabbed my jump. Maybe I would have been better if I would have talked more smack. But would you, so you're telling me you would have passed on Peyton Manning? Because Peyton Manning famously had an issue, an incident where he, supposedly mooned a girl in the locker room.
Okay. It wasn't on TV, didn't see it, and didn't know
just
because
it happened a different era doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah, but I didn't know about it. Right. I learned about that a year ago.
I bet. I mean, that would have come out at the time. And teams go to lengths of having personal and private investigators follow players around. That was talked about.
Okay,
let's say I would have
Let's say I would have heard about that, and the Peyton incident. He mooned somebody, a female, in a locker room. I would have gone incredibly immature, and I've asked him about it.
What's the difference in that and grabbing your jump on the field when you're in a heated moment where I believe the Kansas players were trying him that whole game.
Okay, so let's not make them one's better, one's worse.
Right,
I don't like either.
Exactly.
Okay, the difference is one is on national television. My criticism of Westbrook is always have some self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Listen, Danny, if you were on a reality show, what's the difference being a jerk to your wife and a jerk on a reality show to your wife? You're on television.
Right.
There is an anticipated and understood higher self-awareness needed for a live broadcast. I don't like either of them, but I didn't even know about Peyton Manning's situation. As a GM now, I have this in my file. I got a police video and junk. I'm like, I don't like that stuff.
I think it was a moment where, and this is what I love about it, I think Baker Mayfield plays with an incredible amount of intense fire. Okay. And I think he's a guy that thrives off the trash talk. And I think he lost it. I think he lost his cool in a moment where we've seen NFL players. I mean, I was sitting next to Jake Plummer, and he flipped off a fan in the crowd. And he kind of lost it. And he had to apologize, but we've seen it happen before. He didn't know he was going to get caught on camera. It just happened to pan over to him.
Yeah.
Just like Baker Mayfield probably thought, hey, I can get away with this. But that's where I agree with you. You do have to have that awareness. If you're a Heisman Trophy candidate, you have to always be aware on the field.
By the way, example, Johnny Manziel flipped somebody off. Bust. Baker's done it. I think he's going to be in trouble. Jake Plummer did it. Jake was so gifted. Mm-hmm. But the knock on Jake was always not quite buttoned up.
I think Baker could be a pretty good comp. And I was just thinking about this now, just talking about Jake, because I think Jake brought an impression. He was one of my best friends. He was in my wedding.
He's a player.
I backed him up for 2 years.
Yeah.
He brought an intense fire to the field, and it wasn't always clean. It wasn't always the prettiest, but he flat out made plays. That's why I think the Broncos, if the Jets don't select him, I think could be an attractive landing spot. Don't underestimate the power of Gary Kubiak and John Elway's ear. I think that's why they signed Case Keenum, and I think that's why they might like a guy like Baker Mayfield.
Okay, Lamar Jackson, first of all, it's funny. He didn't run a 40. And everybody's like, whoa, red flag. And I'm like, no. That would be like Superman at the Justice League Combine saying, I'm not going to do the high jump. It's like, dude, you can fly. We know that. Like the idea that Lamar's not running a 40 and people are worked up. It's like, dude, we all know he's fast. I thought the issue yesterday at his pro day, he took a lot of shotgun and pistol formation snaps. Mm-hmm. My concern with him is he's not good in the pocket. Here's a number. I think he had 57 touchdowns last 2 years. 6 under the pocket. It is pro day yesterday, and he didn't want to throw into the pocket.
So I think Lamar Jackson is going to be the steal of the draft.
Okay.
For a couple, one, because I think he's going to drop. Unfortunately, I think he's going to drop like a rock because of what you're talking about, because he didn't run the 40, which I know you don't think it's
doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me either.
Yeah.
But the NFL, again, risk averse. They don't like guys who think differently, who will do something different. I would have ran it if I was him, just to show that you're healthy, just to show that you can put down as fast a number as everybody thinks they can get out there. But the decision-making process throughout this there's been some mistakes made, and it's not a knock against his mom, who's his manager. I didn't think it would be a big problem when he announced it. I was like, oh, it's not the worst decision in the world. But when you hear Mike Mayock and others saying teams are having trouble setting up workouts, when he doesn't have a plan at the pro day to work out under center, to showcase that ability, to at least work on it.
That's the thing for me.
And that's what an agent would help you do. They would have that knowledge. If he struggled at the board, which there have been some reports, I don't know if they're true, talking through plays, an agent would have set him up so he was prepped for those interviews, exactly what to say in that process. that goes to the bigger picture of everything's being evaluated. So all of these decisions that he's made, which have been poor, I think are going to unfairly knock him down. But you give him some time, teach him how to drop from under center. He can be Michael Vick 2.0. He really can. Again, it's a similar question to Rosen. Would you take Jay Cutler's career? Would you take Michael Vick's career?
I don't think he's as good as Michael Vick. I'll tell you another.
As a runner, he for sure is.
Okay.
As a passer,
No
it's
way.
debatable.
Okay.
You don't think so? You think Vick was a better runner?
Michael Vick threw one of the great deep balls for about a decade in the league.
Right.
Okay, here's another terrible comp. And I've said this for years, Danny. It drives me nuts. We too often lump often African-American quarterbacks the other way. By the way, Cam's prototype is Big Ben.
Yes.
Tebow's is Vince Young.
Right.
Great college players, mechanical issues at the next level. Steve Young had a lot of Michael Vick. I mean, lefties who initially in their career liked running after a first read.
Right.
Okay, I am hearing these Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson comparisons. Stop it, everybody. Stop it. First of all, I was a huge Deshaun Watson fan. Deshaun was throwing for 400 yards a game.
Yep.
He
against Bama. That's what
Bama
drove me
was
nuts.
6 weeks to prepare.
Right.
Okay, Deshaun Watson completed 64% of his throws in the improved ACC. We know Lamar Jackson, when he's faced better opponents, has struggled with accuracy and percentage. Like, stop comparing Deshaun Watson, who I think is going to be, if he can stay healthy.
If you look at Vick's college numbers, he didn't throw it anywhere near as much.
Okay.
And it was a different system.
Let me defend
era.
it. Okay. Lamar Jackson has Bobby Petrino.
Yeah.
And the elite, maybe the best offensive mind in college.
Right.
Okay, Virginia Tech's a defensive, Bud Foster, Frank Beamer. They always ran a pedestrian offense.
Right.
So Michael Vick didn't have world-class coaching in college from the offensive side.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Petrino is Urban Meyer and Bobby Petrino are about as good as it gets. Chip Kelly in college.
Which I think is a strength for Lamar Jackson, that he had to handle that offense and was able to excel in it. I think that is a good sign, a reason of why you would select Lamar Jackson, because I think he did have a lot on his shoulders at the college game. But it is funny because anytime anybody says, well, this guy played in a pro system, so he's ready for the NFL, that is an absolute joke. Nobody is ready. Everybody starts from scratch.
Go look at Peyton Manning's first year.
Right. Everybody's going to struggle. You think you know what you're getting into because you played in a, quote, NFL-style system in college. It is nowhere close. And that's not even talking about the defenses that you're going to face, which are going to be 1,000 times more complex.
Also, Michael Vick, there was an element of surprise. Mm-hmm. We've now seen multiple running quarterbacks. Defenses are better prepared. They've seen Russell Wilson. They've dealt with Russell Wilson. They've gone through Michael Vick. They've gone through. So when Michael broke into the league, people didn't know what to do defensively.
Right.
If you're going to run now, these defensive coordinators have seen 1,000 hours of running quarterback tape.
All right, can I spring something on you?
Okay, wait.
Go
Take
ahead.
a break. We'll come back with you.
Okay.
All right, Danny Cannell next. Take a break. Back in a second to Herd.
Stouffer's Fit Kitchen Bowls. Balanced, nutritious, and delicious.